everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Northwest Craftsman. We are in the winter here in Oregon, so you'll see some snowflakes falling in the background. But today, and over a series of days, I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing to build the pole barn that's coming together, or will be coming together here shortly. And a very important part of putting a pole barn in is prepping the place where your pole barn is going to go. So on this episode, I want to talk through what I'm doing to prep the site, so that if you guys are putting in a pole barn, you guys have some of the questions that you may need to answer, because I know I had a ton of questions and I had to do a ton of research to try and figure out what I needed to do, and there's a million and one ways you can do it. So if anything, this will just give you guys another perspective on what you need to do to prep for your pole barn. All right, let's get going. So if you guys have seen my previous videos, you'll know that there was a shed right here, and after getting rid of that shed, we tried to burn away this stump, that stump, and we haven't touched this one, but we will need to get rid of it as well. But in preparation for the foundation, I've learned a couple of different things. One is you need to get rid of as much of the organic matter as possible, and then two, you want to level your site as best as possible if you want a level site underneath your pole barn. You can build a pole barn on a slope, but in this case, I want it to be level on the inside. So today, I'm going to be using the PTO driven stump grinder that I just borrowed from my brother to try and get this guy out, that guy out, and get that guy out as well. And then we're going to try and salvage as much of this as possible. But let's get to the stumps. Well, note to self, too heavy, too fast, time to go get another shear bolt. There we go. After a quick trip to the store, I've got another shear bolt with a lock nut on the bottom or a stop nut on the bottom. And the only thing that you're looking to do is match the grade on the top. So if you break a shear bolt, just bring it in with you and you can check to see what grade it is. This one happens to be grade 5. It's got 1, 2, 3 striations. No striations is grade 2. And I can't remember exactly how many. I think it's 5 striations on it, but that's grade 8. Basically, the lower you go, the lower the shear stress, so the quicker it breaks. So this stump took a ton of time to get it out of the ground, and it's still not entirely done yet. So I'm going to be renting a stump grinder here pretty soon to take care of this one and all the little remaining stumps that I have around here, and then try and take care of some other ones on the property. But I got that one mostly into the ground using this, only to learn later that you're supposed to use a hydrostatic transmission, and we've got a traditional clutch-driven transmission. And the reason for that is because it's really easy to wear out your clutch, because you basically have to just barely feather your clutch on this for a long extended period of time to go slow enough so that the stump grinder can actually work. If you have a hydrostatic transmission, by all means, go ahead and use one of these. It was awesome. I just don't want to blow out my clutch, because that's a much more expensive job than just renting a stump grinder for the day. So once I get the stumps taken care of, the other thing that I need to do to prep the foundation is to take care of this slab. Now, I could just leave it under the building because it's not going to present us with any challenges. It's more stable, but it shouldn't really have any issues as long as I don't have to dig through it in the future, which I don't think I'm going to. But I would like to reuse this concrete elsewhere. So I'm going to slice this up into chunks using the concrete saw, and then I'm going to use the forks to try and transport these in big squares to some other part on the property. May totally fall apart, may work great, I don't know. Worst case scenario, we've got good concrete fill for underneath the shop so that we have to buy less fill. All right, here's a time lapse of that. And this is what it looks like once everything is done. Now, I will admit that I wasn't able to remove as much of the topsoil as possible because our tractor wasn't quite powerful enough, but I was able to remove a good chunk of it. If I had an excavator, I would have come through and scraped it a little bit more clean. So I think best practice is to do that. Again, the only issues that I think that'll cause in the future is that this will settle slightly, and so all of the gravel that's on top of it will settle down into those grooves, which could potentially crack my slab. Now, in our case, I am not going to be putting a slab in our pole barn for at least a couple of years, and so there's a little bit of time time for that to do any settling, for me to bring some more gravel in, spread it out, get it smooth before we put the slab on top of it. But because the structure for the pole barn is coming from the poles itself and not from the slab in the style of pole barn that I am doing, that doesn't necessarily matter as much. It's more of a nicety to make sure that the slab that I eventually put in doesn't get cracks all over the place. So got it all nice and prepped. I basically just cleared everything out of the way. We're not going to be going quite up to that little tiny rock wall right there. Got the slab moved out of the way, got the stumps ground out, and then I basically scraped the top layers all the way off and piled it up down there. So the next steps that I'm going to be doing is bringing in gravel for the pole barn crew so that they have something nicer to work on, especially as it starts getting rainy, as it inevitably will be. So they got something nicer to work on. So once we get past this step, this is really going to be where it moves over to the pole barn crew, where they're going to come in and do it. So I'll put together a video or two on that and show you guys what that process looks like. But if you have any questions about what I did here or what you might do in your situation, go ahead and leave a comment in the comment section down below. Full disclosure, I am not an engineer ready to prep for your foundation, but I have seen a decent amount of stuff online. And so I can at least share that experience with you to at least point you in a direction that might be helpful, if not get you an answer from what I have seen previously. So thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I am really looking forward to this pole barn going up. It's basically going to double the size of my shop and provide storage for the house. So thank you guys for joining. Again, I really appreciate it. Have a great one. Bye.